Hey y'all, welcome back to Nini's Texas Kitchen. Today we're going to make something called a canasta cake. My husband grew up eating these at his grandma's house when he was a kid, and he asked me to make one for this video. So I'm going to, and basically what it is a chocolate cake that has 4 layers of cake with 3 layers of a creamy white filling, and over the top is a chocolate ganache frosting. And he said they're really good, so we're gonna make one today. So the first thing I'm gonna do is make a devil's food cake. So what I've got over here, first of all, is I have a cup of water in my pan, and I have a half a cup of sifted cocoa, and we're gonna make a chocolate glaze paste, whatever you want to call it, with this that will go into the cake mix. So the first thing that I need to do is get the water boiling, and it's going to boil, and then once it's boiling we'll add our cocoa and stir it up really good until it's mixed. But until that's boiling, we can go over the rest of the ingredients that you're going to need to make this devil's food cake. So what you're going to need is 1/2 cup of butter softened. So I just have a stick here that I let soften at room temperature, and so that's ready to go. You're going to need 2 1/4 cups of sifted cake flour, and I have already sifted it. You're also going to need 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda that you will also sift into the flour mixture. You'll also need a teaspoon of baking powder that you will sift into it, like so. You will need 2 cups of white sugar. You need 1/2 cup of buttermilk or regular milk that you soured. And the way that I did it was I took 1 1/2 teaspoons of vinegar and put in the bottom, and then I poured milk into a 1/2 cup level and just let it sit for a few minutes, and it became soured type milk. And you also need 2 eggs. So we will preheat our oven to 350, and I'm going to cook this in 2 pans so that I can cut and make my layers with my layer cake cutter device here. We do that once they're cooled down. So what I did here was I just greased these with some shortening, some Crisco, and then I put my parchment rounds that I have in the bottom, and I did that on both. I'm also going to put these wettened contraptions around the outside of my pan. They're supposed to help keep your cakes from humping up, and they're supposed to stay more level when you use these. If you don't have these, you can take an old towel and cut off strips of it and tie or pin them around with a clothespin or whatever to use those in place of those things. We made a wedding cake for my son and his wife several years ago, so I had those. So looks like our water is getting ready to boil. It's almost there. So once it's boiling and we're getting ready to start making our cocoa paste, we'll be right back. All right, y'all, our water is boiling, so we're going to add our cocoa and stir it. You just want it to be combined well. That's why I decided to use a wire whisk instead of the wooden spoon that I had a while ago. And you just want to cook it together until it's combined really well and it's smooth, and that looks like it's good. So now I just need to let it sit here and cool down for a minute while I prepare the rest of my cake ingredients together, and then we'll put this in with it. Okay, so, I need some vanilla. You're also going to need a teaspoon of vanilla. I forgot to say that a while ago. That will go in it. All right. So I have my butter. I'm going to add my sugar. And I'm going to beat that together until it's kind of fluffy. And then I'll add my eggs. Okay, now we'll add our eggs in. We want it to get light and fluffy looking, so that's what we're doing, just beating it until it's light and fluffy. Won't take that long, just a couple of minutes. As you can see, it got fluffier and it's a lot more pale yellow in color because it got mixed in really good and air got incorporated to make it fluffier. So now what we need to do is we're going to add a little bit of the flour mixture and then a little bit of the milk and then a little bit of the cocoa, and we'll do that in basically 3 additions. So get something to set that on because it's hot. All right. So I'm going to add a little flour, the little flour, soda, baking powder, and salt mixture to it, like so. And I'm going to start beating that slowly and add a little bit of the milk. And I'm going to add a little bit of the cocoa mixture. As you can see, it's starting to turn into chocolate cake batter looking concoction here. All right. Now at this stage, I'm going to take my cake batter scraper and I'm just going to scrape all that excess stuff down into the mixture like so, because I want to make sure I get all of that into it. And it's in there. Get some, oh, I guess I could set it in that. So I'm going to set it over here in on this bowl. All right, now we just repeat the same process a couple more times. Flour, add some of the milk. And we'll add some more chocolate. And just mix it all in. Then we'll scrape again. And then we'll add the last bit of each. I'm using this big bowl this time because I get tired of flinging out the flour everywhere and making a big mess. I hate messes. All right, last bit of each component. And then I'll add the vanilla also. So milk. Now I'll add the rest of the chocolate. I'm going to scrape that chocolate out with my scraper so I can make sure I get it all in there like so. just set that to the side and finish adding all this, and then we'll scrape, and then we'll beat a little bit more. And I have to put the vanilla in it too. And it's just 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Turn it up a little, get this thing going. It's going to be a really rich, deep chocolate cake. And then the vanilla cream filling is going to help cut some of that richness of the chocolate so that you can actually eat a piece of it and not be having too much. All right, so 1 teaspoon of vanilla, like so. Now we'll scrape down all this stuff off the sides. So it's all in there. Beat it all in. And that's it. Done with that part. All right. So now, let me make sure I turn my oven on. It's just a 350-degree oven. We'll bring our handy dandy scraper back over here, and we want to fill both of our 9-inch round pans evenly. So pour some in to cover the bottom. And I'll move over and do this one. Cover the bottom. I'll put a little bit more, like so. And then come over here and put the rest. Just want to get them as close to even as you can. You're making it at home like I am just for your family. You don't have to be exact, but just close. And that looks pretty close to me. So once I get these, the oven preheats and I get ready to put them in, I'm gonna bake them at 350 for about 25 minutes, and then I'm gonna check them to see if they're done. If they are, I'm gonna take them out. If not, I'll cook them another 5 minutes until 30 minutes has gone by. Then I'll check them again. Then we'll let them cool on racks in the pan for 10 minutes, and then we'll turn them out and let them finish cooling down before we cut them and fill them and frost them. So we'll be back when we're ready to get them out of the oven. All right, y'all, our cakes have baked. They're done, they're out, they're cooling. And so I'm just gonna have to level them out, which is easy, it won't take long. And then once they're completely cooled, then I'll cut them into half each of them and have 4 cake layers. So what I'm going to do right now is make the filling that goes inside and between the cake layers, because it has to cool down completely before I can put it in the cake layers. So we're going to go ahead and make it and just set it aside to cool. So what you're going to need for this cream filling is you need 2.5 tablespoons of just regular flour here. You need 1/2 cup of milk. You need 1/2 cup of shortening. You need 1/2 cup of sugar with 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I have that all in here, and we'll need 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, which I'll get at the end. So the first thing that you need to do is take your flour and your milk, and you want to turn on your heat to a low heat, and you want to slowly add your milk to the flour, basically kind of making a roux, sort of. And we want to cook this until a thick paste forms. And then we leave it aside to cool while we do our shortening, sugar, salt mixture. So we're just gonna add all of that. It's all in there. So now I'm just gonna make sure I get everything out of the corners. And I'm just gonna cook and stir over a low heat until a thick paste forms, and then I'll turn it off the heat and let it set aside. So I'm going to cook that, and then we'll come back and show you what to do next. All right, y'all, so our thick paste is done, as you can see, And so I'm just gonna set it aside and let it cool. And it only took about a minute, minute and a half. It doesn't take very long because it's a small amount. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I already have my shortening half a cup inside my mixer here. And I'm going to add my half a cup of sugar and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt into it, like so. And now I'm going to let it start mixing. And you want to beat it till it's light and fluffy. And the longer you beat it, the lighter and fluffier it will be. So I'm going to beat all that together. And then once my paste has cooled down, my milk and flour paste, then I will add it to this and beat it some more. So this is pretty well combined. I'm just going to let it beat for a few minutes, and once our paste has cooled down, we'll come back and show you when we add it how to beat that and let it get all fluffy and add our vanilla. All right, y'all, our cakes are cooled. I just evened them out. I'm going to cut them in half in just a minute, but for now I have started on this canasta filling, and as you can see, the shortening sugar salt mixture got really fluffy. I just let it sit here in the stand mixer and mix on its own for like 5-6 minutes. Now I'm going to add my paste. It has cooled down, and I'm just going to put it in there. You want to make sure you get all of it, as much of it as you can, out of your saucepan. I have my vanilla here, but I'm going to add that after I combine all of this. So you want to turn it up pretty good speed because you want that paste to mix in really well to your other mixture. Now you want it to do this for at least 3 to 5 minutes, and the longer that you let it do this, the fluffier that it will get. So I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes, and I'm going to see how fluffy it is, and I'll add my vanilla right at the end. So we'll be back when we're ready to do that. Okay, y'all, we're back, and our cakes have cooled completely, and I've cut them in half. So I'm going to have 4 layers. My canasta cream filling is ready. It tastes almost just like whipped cream, except for it's not any heavy cream in it. So it's whipped up, it's really soft, really smooth. So now what you'll do, I'm going to do is put a layer of the cream on top, then another cake, and then another layer, and then the last one. So you want to put about half of the cream that you made in the middle here. Spread it evenly throughout the cake, like so. And just make sure you, from the edges, you don't want it spilling out because you're going to have to ice the whole cake. It's very light and fluffy. I let it beat for probably about 7 or 8 minutes because I wanted to make sure it was extremely fluffy. I just want to have my layer nice and even. So. Okay. I'll make sure my edges are all clean. Okay. Now I'll put my next layer. And now I will repeat the cream. I'm going to put a little bit less because I got 2 more layers. So I'm just going to put a little bit here, spread it around. I don't want to not have enough. If you wanted to double it so you could have a lot of extra cream in your layers, you can do that. This cake that I made is a really rich devil's food cake, so this cream helps to keep it from being too sweet where you can't hardly take it. It just helps cut that overly sweetness, extreme chocolatiness. Just a little, just a little. All right, one more layer. And my last bit of cream. I probably got too much cream in that bottom layer, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter. And get some off the sides to put back in the top. You're basically putting this so that instead of frosting it in the middle, you just have this light, fluffy cream filling. And then put your last layer. All right, so we will be right back. We just have to get ready to make our chocolate frosting glaze that goes over the top. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, y'all, our cakes are all stacked and filled. So now I'm gonna make this chocolate icing to go over the top, and so it's kind of a warm icing when you get done, so you can pour it and then smooth it. So it should be nice. You just don't want to pour too fast since I'm having a tiered cake. So what I need for this is a stick of butter, which I have, 4 tablespoons of cocoa, and 1/3 of a cup of milk. So I add all of this together in the pan, and I'm just going to cook it till it melts and combines. You do not want to make it boil. So just over medium heat or so, and just cook and stir until the butter melts completely and all of your cocoa and milk and everything is combined. Once you hit that stage where it's all melted, then we will add 2½ cups of powdered sugar and a teaspoon of vanilla, and we will beat that with the mixer until it's nice and smooth and fluffy. And then we will pour it over our cake. So once this is all melted and we're ready to add our powdered sugar, we'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, our milk, butter, and flour, milk, butter, and I don't remember what else I put in there. Flour. Cocoa. Our milk, butter, and cocoa is ready. My brain is frazzled this weekend. I've been so busy. So now I'm going to add in my powdered sugar. And I'm going to start beating it slowly, and it'll combine in with the butter, cocoa, milk mixture. Just keep beating it until it gets really, really, really smooth, like so. Once you get it kind of combined, you can turn it up a little bit so it'll beat it even better. Okay, now I'm going to add my teaspoon of vanilla. And guys, this is my first time making this canasta cream for the middle of my cake. So it turned out really good, but if you want more filling in the middle of yours, you might want to double the recipe or even triple it, just to make sure you have plenty of cream to put in there. I wasn't sure how much it was going to make, so I just went with what the recipe said. But the next time I make this canasta cake, I am going to triple my recipe so I can put as much as I want in there to make sure it's exactly the right amount that I would like to have. All right, there's our frosting. Nice and chocolatey, as you can see. Can't keep a hold of anything today. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pour some over it slowly. I don't want to do too much at a time. And then I'm going to encourage it over the sides of the cake. And it will like thicken up as it cools. And it'll kind of get a, you know, like a crust over it. Not really a crust, but you know, it'll firm up, in other words. But it's an easy way to make the frosting and let it go over the sides of your cake without overdoing it. And it's okay if you're a little messy. You can get a rag and wipe it off later. You can just pour it over the edges like so. And then pour some more on top. Smooth it around. Don't worry, I'll be cleaning up my edges in a little bit. And it cools. I got a bunch on the side, but that's all right. I don't care. I'm just gonna smooth it around. You gotta go with the flow. And I know once it cools down, I can come touch it up a little bit and get that excess off of my cake plate. Chocolate everywhere. Chocolate rage cake. I'm just going to keep smoothing it around. As you can see, I got a lot more on that other side, but it doesn't really matter. All right. And then once it cools, I'll clean all that chocolate off of there and serve it later tonight. And it will be delish. And it kind of makes that shiny top without it being a mirror glaze or a true ganache. But it's very similar to one. So, if you liked my video making homemade canasta cake with cream filling and pretend ganache frosting, please give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Please go watch my other videos if you haven't already, or watch them again if you'd like. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next time in Nini's Texas Kitchen.